So as in English, one word can have multiple meanings. There's certain words in Buddhism where the meaning can differ according to the context and the circumstance. So bodhicitta is one of them. So when we talk about the conventional bodhicitta, we're talking about the altruistic intention to attain full awakening for the benefit of all beings. And so that is our motivation for doing the practice. Okay, that's what makes one into a bodhisattva. Then there's also the ultimate bodhicitta, which refers to the wisdom realizing emptiness. Okay, and so that wisdom is realizing the ultimate nature, the way things exist, their final mode of existence. Yeah. So that's looking at phenomena from an entirely different perspective. When we talk about the bodhisattva grounds, the bodhisattva grounds are all ultimate bodhicitta. They're all the wisdom realizing emptiness. But the grounds are differentiated one from another according to the practices that are done, and perfected with the bodhicitta motivation during that time. And so you have 10 bodhisattva grounds that correspond to the 10 far-reaching practices, the 10 perfections, okay? So, and then in Tantra, bodhicitta means something else altogether too. So, according to the situation, then meanings of different words change. Okay, we have to be aware of that. So, let's come back here. We were talking yesterday about the requesting prayers. And how when we are requesting, what we're doing is, it's a psychological method because we are so used to projecting things on the outside that we project our future Buddhahood in the form of Chenrezig or in the form of our spiritual mentor outside of us. We make requests, okay, to the spiritual mentor, to Chenrezig. But what we're really doing is requesting to our future awakening, and what we're really doing is putting into words our deepest heartfelt spiritual yearnings and aspirations. And of course, when you put those things into words, there's something special when you put it into words that happens than when you just think about it, isn't there? You put it into words, and there's already, you're going towards doing it. There's some energy towards doing it. Okay, so the requesting prayers function in that way. And then when we think of the Guru Chenrezig, of course, liking when we request that, and then showering, blessings upon us or inspiring our mind, which means that our mind transforms, and we do that through visualizing that light comes from them into us, purifying obstacles, bringing the realizations and so on. Okay, and so that helps us to feel very close to the Guru deity. And so in one way we're feeling close to our future Buddhahood. In another way, we're making a strong connection with our spiritual mentor that doesn't depend on being around our spiritual mentor. And this is very important for our practice because we can't always be near our spiritual mentor and get direct guidance. So we have to have a way of keeping that in mind and keeping that feeling alive, because when you have a good relationship with your spiritual teacher, you feel very supported in doing your practice and you feel very encouraged. So you need to be able to keep that alive in yourself for the times when you're not near your teacher, so that you can still have the same energy and enthusiasm for your practice, and keep it alive also so that you feel that connection with the deity. So this is helping taking you beyond seeing the spiritual mentor as just that person, okay? And helping you to see that the spiritual mentor, the essence is the same essence as Chenrezig, And so you tune into, that. And you tune into their bodhicitta, you tune into their compassion, you tune into their complete acceptance of who you are and their affection for you and everything like that. And so that's very helpful, when you then visualize them dissolving into you and you feel like your mind and Chenrezig's mind become one. In an ultimate sense, the emptiness is indifferentiable. In a conventional sense, you imagine that your mind has the same realizations of Chenrezig. But even before, thinking that, if you're feeling a little bit lonely, a little bit down, then, you feel like, all your guru's love and compassion and Chenrezig's love and compassion is coming into you, and that you're loved and you're accepted and, you're being held by that compassion. And so I think that when we imagine that in our motivations, it really helps tremendously to meet our need for being accepted and for, being held in compassion and being appreciated. Okay? And so when we can do that in our meditation by Chenrezig coming into us and our feeling like that, then we don't become so dependent on other people to love us and care about us and have affection and appreciate us. Because we realize, if you can be held by the Guru Buddha's love and compassion, that's going to be much more reliable than being held by some sentient being's love and compassion, which is for the most part attachment and can change according to conditions. Whereas, the Guru deity's love and compassion for us is not going to change. Yeah, no matter what we do, no matter how we act, no matter what's going on, Chenrezig still cares for us. The Guru deity still cares for us. So we're never abandoned, we're never rejected. And that's really important, to be able to recall, to bring that feeling into our hearts when we're meditating of I'm fully accepted just as I am. I'm not rejected, I'm not abandoned, I'm not shamed, I'm not, worthless, and dwell with that feeling of what it feels like to be completely accepted for who you are, in your own heart, because the Buddhas believe in us. On one level they have compassion and love that's never going to change according to the circumstances. On the other level, they really believe in us and they see our Buddha nature and they know our potential. Yeah, and so they're always there encouraging us, kind of going, hey, you have a lot of potential. You have something inside that you need to become aware that you have inside, and get rid of all this garbage that you tell yourself about how awful you are, because that's just garbage. Yeah, and so you call that feeling to mind of being accepted and loved when the deity dissolves into you. Okay, and when you can, create that feeling in yourself, by yourself in your meditation, then you can have that feeling of being loved and accepted anytime, anywhere, no matter how other people are acting to you, no matter what they say, none of that matters. Okay, and then you don't have to go around trying to, get other people to like you and love you and complain because they don't tell you that they love you enough and, or as often as you want them to. And you begin to be able to drop all of that. Yeah, so it's really very, very helpful, okay, in our minds. Because I think most people, my experiences, most people in this country don't believe in themselves underneath and feel kind of worthless. And that's a big hindrance. Yeah, because it's all garbage. Yeah. So we need the garbage collector to come take it away. Yeah. Okay, so that's very important to do. And I know, I'll tell you one secret what I did. Sometimes, because as nuns, we're limited on who we can hug. And and how we can hug and everything. So sometimes I remember there was a certain part some years ago where I was feeling especially lonely. And then I would just imagine Chenrezig with all 1,000 arms hugging me. And it was just so nice, because Chenrezig can hug me. There was nothing extra added to any of that, And it was perfectly all right. So, do that with, all 1,000 arms. So, yeah. So you can bring this, into your heart so that it really helps you. Okay? So, then in the Red Book, after the request, at that point Chenrezig hasn't dissolved in us and everything. That's coming later in the sadhana. But we have the 8 verses of thought training. In the yellow, we have, we have the receiving the inspiration of the master by, the light coming and purifying and everything like that. And then after that, we do the prayer of the graduated path. So they're done at different points in the practice. One is done before the purification and the absorption. The other one, it's done afterwards. It doesn't really matter. But I think that, this is one way that our teachers put in, because some people really like visualization practices and mantra recitation practices, and they put in these texts that tell us how to think as a way of getting us to think and not just space out because it feels good to visualize and say mantra, okay? And so, these short texts are very, very powerful, and especially when they're called glance meditations. At least the prayer of the graduated path is a glance meditation. The 8 verses of thought training is more a thought transformation or mind transformation text. But the point of them is similar, is that when you feel connected to the Guru deity, and then you think about some of the Lamrim teachings or some of the thought mind training teachings, then they go in deeper in your heart because you already have this close feeling to the deity. And it's like Chenrezig himself is reading this to you and telling you how to think. And when you read these prayers, you think that this is Chenrezig telling you what's in his mind. Yeah? If you want to know what it feels like to be Chenrezig, you read these texts, and it's just telling you what it feels like to be Chenrezig, how Chenrezig thinks. Okay, and so that too really helps us. Like, oh well, I want to become like Chenrezig, and here's Chenrezig telling me what's going on in his mind. So let me see if I can think like this also, because this is how I'm going to approach Chenrezig. This is how I'm going to get close to Chenrezig, is by learning to transform the way I think. Yeah. So you read the 8 verses of thought transformation, and it really does change the way you think, doesn't it? Yeah. Now, of course, with all these verses, it's really important that you understand them correctly. Yeah, because some of them it's easy for us to understand, like the second verse, when it says, whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depth of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. We can misinterpret that to think, then whatever anybody else wants or does, I just go along with it. They're supreme, I'm low, so I just go along with whatever they say and whatever they do, and I give in to everything. That's not the meaning of the second verse. Okay? That is not the meaning of the second verse. The meaning of the second verse is, okay, instead of us seeing ourselves as I am the one who's always right, I have to have the last word in an argument. Everybody has to notice me and serve me and recognize how wonderful I am. So that very arrogant, proud mind, in order to tame it, I see myself as the lowest of all. So I see myself as the servant to others. Okay? The servant to others means that I do what is best for others. To serve others means I do what is best for them. Is doing everything somebody wants you to do always is the same as doing what is best for them? No. Okay. How many of you are parents? Okay. Is doing what your child wants the same as doing what is best for your child? No. Yeah, if you always just do whatever the child wants, you're actually making it difficult on the child, because they're not going to know how to function in the world. They're going to expect everybody to just do what they want them to do. They're not going to learn how to deal with frustration. Okay? So you see yourself as the lowest of all in the sense that you don't have to win and be powerful and, stomp on everybody. But you're the servant of others, so you have to do what's best for them. So if you're raising a child, you need to discipline your child when the child needs discipline. And you need to think of a way to discipline the child so that they really understand that you're not rejecting them as a person, you're just saying that that behavior is inappropriate. They're not a bad person for doing what they did, but that behavior is something that is harmful, that they shouldn't do. Okay? In that way, you are being a good servant to others. Yeah. If you're at work, you see yourself as the lowest of all, in the sense that you don't have to dominate all the meetings. But does that mean that if you see people starting to do something that is going to be harmful, that you just keep your mouth shut and go along with it? No, you say something. Okay? So we have to understand what these verses mean. I mean, just what happened this morning when Kyle realized that water was pouring out everywhere. He didn't just go to the contractor and go, "Oh, dear boss, you may want to look at it. There's water flowing all over the building." He didn't say, "I'm the lowest of all, so that's how I act towards my boss." Yeah. He screamed, which was good. Yeah.
That's what we heard.
Yes. That's what you heard. Okay. So we have to understand what these things mean properly. Okay. Similarly, verse 5, when others out of jealousy mistreat me with abuse, slander, and so on, I will practice accepting defeat and offering the victory to them. Again, that doesn't mean that every time somebody's jealous with us, and mistreats us, we just say, "I'm defeated, I'm worthless, I'm scum, they can treat me any way they want, and they're victorious, and I'm just a poor loser." That's not the meaning of the verse. Yeah? I mean, do you think the Buddha wants to make you to have the self-image that you're a poor loser? No. When you're a bodhisattva, you need incredible strength and courage. The Buddha doesn't want to make you like, okay. So what it means, again, is somebody's mistreating us with abuse, slander, and so on. We don't need to create a big thing of, "How dare you talk to me like this, and you're just jealous, and it's all your rubbish." And what was it? Your anger is your fault, so go look at it. Yeah. Because what it means is that we don't act like that, okay? We see, okay, somebody is out of control right now. They're abusing, verbally abusing us and everything. I know there's this thing that when people have a very strong negative emotion, the psychologists say they have something called a refractory period, which means that during the time that strong emotion is present, they can't hear anything, they can't take in any information that contradicts that emotion. They can only take in information that collaborates that emotion. And we can see it in ourselves, When you're really angry, if somebody tries to explain to you at that moment that you totally misunderstood what somebody said, can you take that in? Usually not. When you're in the heat of the anger, it's, don't tell me I misunderstood things. I'm sure they really meant this. Yeah. So in this side, in this verse 5, we realize that somebody else is in that state of mind where they can't take in any new information. So we just kind of hold off for the time being. Yeah. We don't take in everything they say to us because we realize when somebody's acting like that, they're actually saying much more about their own state of mind and the suffering that they're experiencing than they are saying about who we are. Yeah. So we see we don't need to get offended. We don't need to, get all uptight about it. Yeah. I'll keep my mouth closed for the time being because it won't do any good to open it. And then when the person's calmed down, then I'll go and I'll talk to them and, kind of work it out with them. Okay? So, so we have to understand what these verses mean correctly. Very important. So again, that's why we study and have reflection. Yeah. So, in parting from the four attachments, when they talk about the benefit of study and reflection, here you see a really good example of it. Because if we don't study and learn what the words really mean, then we can very easily misunderstand some Dharma teachings and put them into practice upside down. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Then, in the Red Book, then we have the purification, meditation, and mantra recitation. In the yellow pages, it's the section called Blessing by the Master, but they're both very similar, in the sense that now there's going to be visualization of light and nectar coming, and we're receiving the blessings of the Guru deity. Yeah. In the Red Book, we imagine that Chenrezig comes from the space in front of us to the top of our head, facing the same direction as us, so it's almost as if Chenrezig is an extension of us. Yeah, and at Chenrezig's heart, you have the flat moon disk, you have the Hri at the center, you have the letters of the mantra going in a clockwise direction, standing up, and it starts, in front with, Om Mani Padme Hum going on the inside, and then outside, Om Ratnatraya, Namaratnatraya, going around the outside of the moon. Okay, and that's on top of your head, and then you imagine all the sentient beings around you. They also have Chenrezig on top of their head with the moon disk and the Hri at the center and the standing mantra letters like that. Okay, and then light comes down from the Hri and mantra letters in both, in both the Chenrezig above your head, the Chenrezig above the other's head, and it does two functions. One is it purifies all the negativities. Okay, so any negative karma, we imagine that it gets purified. Anything we don't like about ourselves gets purified. Anything we feel bad about having done in the past gets purified. So that in the end, you don't, have any guilt and, all this kind of stuff, but all of that stuff just gets purified. So that's one function of the light. The second function of the light and nectar is that it brings with it all the realizations of the Guru deity. So you think that, like maybe you've been doing a lot of meditation on, let's say, renunciation, and you're making progress, but you know that there's still a lot of blocks in your mind to really accepting this. Then you imagine that the understanding of renunciation is contained in this light and nectar, and it comes into you as you do the visualization and recite the mantra. Okay? Or maybe you've been doing meditation on equanimity, trying to even out your mind so you don't go up and down so much between I like this person, I can't stand them, and all of our bias and prejudice towards others, and you're really working hard on that, then you think that realization that Chenrezig has comes into you as the light and nectar flowing into you. Okay, so those two things, purifying whatever hinders and bringing all the realizations, bringing the inspiration, okay, of Chenrezig. So in the red book, it's done with Chenrezig on top of your head coming into you like that, okay? On the yellow pages, then it's, okay, so your spiritual mentor is in the space in front of you, right? It didn't really say. It just says in the Dharma, yeah, it doesn't really say in front of you or on top, so it could be either way. But in any case,
It says way back on page 2, it said in the space of the Dharma vibrates spontaneous.
that's what I mean. It doesn't say whether you're visualizing in front of you or on your head, so you could probably do it either way. But in any case, here, I think during the blessing part of it, yeah, it's good to have His Holiness on top of your head. Yeah, and then at His Holiness's heart, you have Avalokiteshvara. At the heart of Avalokiteshvara, you have the letter Hri. Okay, and then the light and nectar of 5 colors is flowing down, coming in through the crown of your head, yeah, and flowing down through you and filling your entire body-mind. All the cells of your body-mind are completely filled by this light and nectar. And so again, eliminating all obscurations. So whether they're karmic obscurations or obscurations of just us not understanding or having resistance or whatever, or ignorance, all that gets purified. And then endowing me with both the common and exclusive powerful attainments. The common attainments are different supernormal powers that you gain through developing concentration, and the exclusive powerful attainments are those exclusive to the Arya beings. In other words, the realizations of emptiness, and in the case of Arya Bodhisattvas, the realization of bodhicitta, and all the the far-reaching practices and so on. So you imagine all of that is flowing into you. Yeah?
On page 5 at the bottom it says the merging of the spiritual master into your heart. And is that always initially from the master going on your crown and coming down that way?
Where on page 5?
I wrote the word merging with the spiritual master.
That's on page 6, yeah. Yeah. So that's what you've been visualizing so far, your spiritual master. Yeah. So I think it's good when we're on page 5, the blessing of the spiritual master, that he's on top of your head at that point. Okay? Does that answer your question? Okay? And
Because I'd always heard it, I'd always envisioned it as he always comes through the crown of my head.
Yeah. But we're not there yet in the sadhana. Yeah, you're jumping ahead. Okay, so right now it's just the purification and the inspiration from the spiritual master coming. Okay, and then with both of these, either the red book on page 6 or the yellows on page 5, at that part, you have 2 things going on. You have the visualization and you have the mantra recitation. Okay, in the red book you're doing Namaratnatraya, and you're also doing Om Mani Padme Hung. In the yellow you're doing His Holiness's mantra. Okay, so it doesn't matter I mean, there's different mantras, but that's not something to, worry about, because what we're talking about here is the commonalities and the structures of the meditation. Okay? So you have the visualization going on, you have the mantra recitation. Ideally, you want to be doing the two at the same time. Okay? Practically, we may not be able to do that. Okay? Huh?
The two mantras?
No. to do the visualization of the light coming and reciting the mantra at the same time. Okay? So what you do is, at the beginning, if it's easier for you, first you spend time just focusing on the visualization, and do that for some time, and, get that clear, and then add the mantra recitation onto it. Okay, and try and keep both of them going. What usually happens when you're doing it is sometimes, like, you'll be doing the visualization and the mantra recitation, but your visualization might be dominant, and you might be paying more attention to that, and you're still reciting the mantra, but it's more in the back of your mind. Okay? And then other times you might be really focused more on the sound of the mantra, and the light's still coming, but you're focused more on the sound of the mantra. Okay? So it's kind of like, you can look at somebody and talk to them at the same time. Yeah. So similarly, we can, have the visualization and the mantra recitation going on at the same time, but in different balances, And so don't, and also when we're saying visualization, we're talking about a conceptual appearance to the mind. So don't, get all uptight about, I've got to see, where I've got to see that light and nectar. Oh, okay, let's see. It's 5 colors. Oh, I got the white. I can't get the yellow. I can't get the red. No. Just relax. Okay. Just get the feeling that this light and nectar, which is the nature of compassion and wisdom from Chenrezig, is coming into you. Just relax and feel connected to Chenrezig in that way. Okay? So what I'm saying is, don't struggle with this. Yeah, don't make it so difficult for yourself. Yeah. It's like when you're talking to somebody, are you like looking at them like this, like, I've got to count how many buttons they have on their shirt, and I've got to see, oh, it's a multicolored shirt. What is the exact pattern of the colors, and, how is this, and, what's the cut of the shirt, and, do the buttons, are they sewn on by 2 holes or 4 holes, and, you just look at the person, right? And you get the feeling of being in the presence of the person. I don't even notice what people wear. People will talk to me, like after I give a teaching, and they'll say, oh, that person wearing the whatever, and I'm going, even I'm not teaching, and it's just, people visiting here, and I confuse people, and they'll say, oh, it's the person wearing the purple. I don't notice what people wear. Yeah, it's very strange. So anyway, but I look at people and I pick up something from looking at them, and I have an experience of being in their presence. So, it's the same with Chenrezig. So, don't worry so much about the color of the scarves and, do the scarves twist this way? Do they twist that way? Okay. Bev can worry about all that. Yeah. When you have to do it in a stained glass window, then not worry. But you are concerned. You want to make sure that, the pieces of scarf connect, and that there's not just a piece hanging out somewhere that doesn't attach somewhere else. Okay, but the main thing is you just focus on being, in the presence of Chenrezig and communicating in this symbolic way through the light and nectar coming into you with the Guru deity. Okay. Okay. So then, So here we see in these two texts that in the red book, first we had like the text, and then we had the purification and everything with the Guru. In the yellow, first we had the purification with the Guru, then we had the prayer of the graduated path, the Lam Rim. So it's the same. Yeah. Okay. And then we have the part of the merging of the spiritual master, in the yellow, which is on page 6, and on page 7 in the red book, then we have the absorption. Okay? So with the absorption, Zopa Rinpoche kind of put this sadhana together, so he always emphasizes to us again and again, generating bodhicitta. So he made it, before the spiritual mentor merges with us, so that we can really merge in the best way, we generate bodhicitta. Yeah, because that's what it means to be close to your teacher, that you're generating the same realizations as your teacher. Being close to your teacher doesn't mean that you always follow them around and you know everything that they're doing and stuff like that. Being close means that you generate the same attitude, the same worldview, the same realizations. Okay? So to prepare our mind, for merging with the spiritual master, then we think, I will live my life in a meaningful way and do all actions with the motivation to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings. Okay? And then, then Chenrezig melts into light. Okay? And comes into you, and you imagine that Chenrezig can come and rest at your heart, or just that Chenrezig dissolves into you, and so your body is filled with light, and you just feel like what it's like to have a body that's made of light instead of a body that's heavy. And this hurts and that hurts and no, your body's completely full with life, with light, okay, and becomes very pure and clear. So you concentrate on that, and then you concentrate on your mind, being unified with Chenrezig's mind and having all the realization of the stages of the path. Okay, here, that's in the red book. In the yellow, okay, then again, the Guru Master, the Supreme Master, the Guru deity, so if your Guru has passed away, then your Guru dissolves into light and dissolves into you. If he hasn't, then you just imagine him becoming smaller and then entering in through the crown of your head. Okay? Descends through the crown of your head, dissolves into the indestructible point at the center of your 8-petaled heart. Okay? So in when we get into Tantra, we see that at the heart chakra, there's 8 channels coming out of it, and there's an indestructible drop there, and so we imagine that the Guru dissolves into that, which is meaning that wisdom and bliss is, wisdom and compassion, wisdom and bliss is dissolving into, the very center of our heart. And it's talking about the heart chakra, it's not talking about the boom boom heart, okay? So it's right smack in the in the middle of your chest. And you can feel it. When you feel a strong emotion, either a positive emotion or a negative one, you feel it right here, don't you? Yeah? You don't feel your emotions up here. You don't say, I love you. You say, I love you. Don't you? Something's in here. Yeah? You're not saying, my brain loves you. Yeah? Okay, so Okay, so if you haven't received the initiation, then that concludes, your practice and you dedicate. Yeah. If you have received the initiation, then, you can go right into the six deity practice, which I would like maybe tomorrow morning. I'll meet in here with the people who have the initiation, and we can go through the six deities. And those of you who don't have the initiation can go, to your other meditation hall and do the practice there. Okay, lead yourself again through the Chenrezig practice. Okay, because I'd like some time to go over the six deities with the people who have the initiation. Okay, so then the merging of the spiritual master, and in the yellow, and then he reappears. Yeah, Chenrezig sitting on a moon and a lotus. Or a lotus and a moon. It should be lotus and moon, not moon and lotus. Okay, and at his heart is Avalokiteshvara, at whose heart is the letter Hri. So what was above your head before is now in your heart, very small. Okay, and then again, you recite the mantra, and light. This time you're going to recite the long mantra and the short mantra. And here, this time, the light and nectar coming from the Hri and the Avalokiteshvara and the mantras at your heart and emanating from your heart and filling you, and again doing the two functions. One is purifying all the obscurations, one is bringing all the realizations. And then you imagine that light going outside of you and touching all the sentient beings. Yeah. So instead of, in the red book, it was Chenrezig on the heads of all sentient beings being purified. Here is Chenrezig in your heart and coming out from your heart and purifying and inspiring them that way. Okay? And then after that there's, you recite the Pema Satra mantra, and then you dedicate the merit. Yeah?
Is there a significance to when sometimes it's the lotus, sun and moon, and in this case it's the lotus and moon?
Yeah, they sometimes... what is it? Like in the Manjushri practice, he sits on a lotus and moon disk, because Manjushri is the essence of wisdom. The sun usually represents wisdom, the moon bodhicitta, and the lotus renunciation. So sometimes according that way, when we visualize Shakyamuni Buddha, he's seated on both. On this one, I don't know why. Usually when it's at the heart, well, no, sometimes it is a sun disk. Yeah. So sometimes you can explain it, and the other time I don't understand. Okay. Shall we dedicate? Oh, yeah.
Just one more. Now my master reemerges on the moon and lotus in my head.
No, in your heart, because we're on page 6 now.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, the Guru deities dissolved into your heart, and he reemerges in your heart. Okay, yeah.
On the dedication, were you going to cover that later or not?
It depends if I have time to go through the meaning of all the dedication verses.
By flying high above the 3 realms, what are the 3 realms?
Oh, the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. Okay.